but. All right, what's up with it? It's Charles Handy, aka Dance Hustle, and I'm playing the vibes, man. This is the vibes right now. I got some really dope, special people in the building tonight, so I'm gonna get to it. My brother Don Trail Detroit is on the way, and so my quick take for the weekend is bless up, peace and blessings. My Raiders need some TLC, and I'm kind of mad at that, but it's all good, whatever. So, briefly, I had some special people pull up because we had a dope topic. So, first of all, appreciate them pulling up. To my immediate right, we got family in the building, my cousin Vic Lee, Victoria, aka Vic. What's your Instagram? So and you gotta put the mic.
Is private?
Okay, I know. Oh, my bad. She's not on Instagram. Don't look her up. But she's an amazing person. She's a manager and attorney. And what's the practice that you're at? I want to say it wrong.
It's Siegel, Cohen and Landis. It's a tax law firm. We do it's Siegel, Cohen and Landis. It's a tax law firm. We do tax resolution and controversy.
Dope. And where'd you go to school? So that way,
Loyola Law School for my tax LLM. I went to a small 4-tier law school in Jacksonville, Florida for my JD. It's called Florida Coastal. I think it's still open. It'd be going through some things, but Florida Coastal School of Law in Jacksonville.
Hey, Duval, come on, show Duval some love. Hey, that's what my wife's family's from there.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah,
Duval.
Hey, come on. Hey, I know. Hey, look, I know what's up, but I love Florida. Shout out to you. Hey, but yeah, so she's super, and she's super talented. She's tall. She's a attractive woman. So I just she's black. Everybody, just so y'all don't know. She's a sister. So I just gotta let everybody know who's in the building, and we setting up a topic, and we got some young dope professionals in the building, young gifted and black people, and essentially we the good news is that they dope, and also sometimes because of that dopeness, we want to dive into what is it possible to be suffering from success. Is there I see DJ Khaled, he talks about suffering from success, and we just want to see if is there a success side of suffering or whatever, vice versa. So also we got my brother Julian Mitchell. He just celebrated his birthday on November 19th. He's a Scorpio. You know what I'm saying? He's a young brother out here that's doing amazing things, and he's an award-winning marketer and media journalist, and he's been a columnist and developed platforms for leading media brands such as Forbes. Shout out Forbes, Secure the Bag, Beats by Dre, Complex, Huffington Post, and obviously Revolt TV, because it's Revolt alumni. but. So yeah, Julian, he's super dope. This guy actually, I'm so happy. Look, I got to push record because I haven't been recording, and also Detroit just pulled up on us, Don Trail Detroit, and usually he's running the board. Can we switch? Because look, I didn't give nobody their applause. I just remember it. Look, everybody, this is an applause for everybody. Look, hold up. I know, look, hold up. I gotta give everybody the applause. And I messed up and didn't give everybody the applause, so I'm like, man, Detroit, bro, you supposed to be here running the board, and I'm just supposed to be like, doing my thing. But look, hey, he's getting it together. But look, so look, now you can actually hear it. Here we go. So that's everybody's applause. Thank y'all for pulling up. And in the back, we got her, the brother over here, you know what I'm saying? Just give us a quick shout out, she got her boot thing with her, and so yeah. So all that to say is, so that's our topic is, our actual official topic is in the show. Thanks for tuning in. This is the relationship game, right? Yeah, you're supposed to. So you can't hear yourself, then that is not good. All right, keep talking.
Can't you hear yourself?
I can hear myself now. All right, keep talking.
Testing, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Testing. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I can hear myself.
All right, so we back. And so everybody's in the building. We got Julian Mitchell. We got Vic. And like I was gonna say, Julian was the guy that actually got me the job at Revolt originally. Yeah, he interviewed me. He was my first.
I remember that day.
Yeah, bro. We was like in the trenches together at one point. It was like, but it was such a blessing. I promise you, like, he was such the perfect person to like interview with, because like he broke it down so like genuine and just like, this is what the situation is. This is what we trying to make happen. If you want to be a part of that, you know what I'm saying, then let's rock out. And I appreciate it. It was just like, all right, I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we really did some amazing stuff together. And and if I would have went in there with a different situation, it could have just been like, it could have went from this great thing to like just not having the right mentality. So all that to say is, bro, appreciate you. And,
absolutely.
I appreciate anytime that. I got an opportunity to big you up,
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna do it. But I'm on the Jamaican vibes right now, the reggae vibes, and the peace and blessing vibes, because I'm headed out to Jamaica, and we're spending our Thanksgiving out there, so I'm blessed. Detroit, you ready?
Oh yeah.
That was before, and real quick, that was before it was even a network.
Yeah.
Like, that was before it was even a thing. The room we interviewed in was a conference room that hadn't even become the studio yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was that early on. I remember that.
Could you hear me?
Yeah. Yep. That became what is it? Studio B?
Yeah.
That's where yeah.
All right. Oh, we are very low.
Oh, he got the voice and everything. That's what you supposed to have.
He's the. Am I on?
I'm back.
'Cause I got my headphones.
Yeah. I can hear you though, Charles.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, dope.
Yeah.
Well, I was.
Unless you want to grab those.
I don't need it. But all that to say is it was a conference room that I interviewed in, which was crazy because it was like chairs everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like
empty.
Yeah, it was like an empty room, but it was just like, you had to see the dream. You know what I'm saying? You just had to just see the dream. You had to see it before it was even existing. You know what I'm saying?
That's back when we used to have a small team of 4 of us that used to shoot all the content.
Yeah.
And then go. Charles and I spent hours, so many overnight shifts, editing videos and clips and stuff.
And that's what it takes, though.
Yeah. Nah, it was real. Yeah, I remember
dedication.
that time period.
Nah, that was definitely what it was, and
it was so real.
Yeah.
The nights got so real. We wanted to have fun. We used to we would work at the office or at the studio till late at night, and we would just leave because we was in Hollywood. We'd go somewhere, and then it'd be 3-7 in the morning. We'd be back in the editing bag.
Having to finish. Nah, it was like
falling
that.
asleep on the couch.
It was like if you had to do the get some, what do they call that? Everybody's like, oh, I would have walked over to get some cheesecake or whatever. It felt like I was doing that like 10 times a week. I'm like, I wish I did just have to do cheesecake, the cheesecake one time. All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? But it was a blessing though, because at the end of the day, it's like, that's, shout out, like, truly, we were all super young, gifted, and black. Like, just on some Nina Simone. It was on some like, look, this my Julian impression, because this like on some like WB Du Bois, you know what I'm saying? Just like, but that's how I felt though, because honestly, he'll just start ripping off different names and stuff, but you know what he's talking about. But it's like, so that's how I felt, where it's like, the talented Tim, you know what I'm saying? Just like it was just a situation that just everybody was just super dope. Shout out to Best Adana, Video Chris, just any person that was a creative or even behind the scenes. If you were pretty much a part of that team, you were just like, whatever it was that you did in particular, or your specialty wise, it was like you were really dope at that. You know what I'm saying? It was absolutely. Like, but everybody had to be something different because you only had a small team, so we couldn't just. You're like, nah. If you're the guy for the editorial, guess what? You got 10 hats to wear, but you're like, but that's what it took because it wasn't going to get done. If
segueing right into your topic, that was definitely Young, Gifted, and Black. It was a lot of young, like hungry, driven, talented people who all shared just a passion for making this giant dream come to life. And to think about having a channel where all the people really running point are young people, was just crazy to think about that at that time.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was something I had never seen before. I had never worked in television before. You know, going over there and running point on that. So that was something where a lot of people got a shot. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people got put in positions to really show and prove. And that was just a special time.
Definitely.
You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, we launched a network together.
Yep.
That's a Black network. You know what I'm saying? So that's something to really be proud of. Yeah. So I appreciate you. And
really did it,
yeah, literally. And so then the last thing I'll say is just like shout out to Byron Allen, our brothers over here. You know what I'm saying? You know, he's actually in the middle of some litigation with Comcast. And,
he actually won.
You know, he won.
He won
both.
Snap.
He won both.
Both cases, yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So shout out to him.
What was it over?
It was because so Comcast is, you know, housing different channels and getting channels on different tiers and all that. And so basically Byron was just proving his case to how his network's been boxed out of certain opportunities because they actually are doing better than a lot of white networks. And so he's just like, why we aren't getting Black networks on Comcast aren't getting put into the right positions, to the right packages, to the right homes, and even though they're performing at higher rates. And so breaking that down, it just makes so much sense because to this day, truly to this day, because anybody that was there, much like Julian, you would tell you, like, when we're out and about in this industry, in certain circles, it'll be a lot of Revolt people there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because especially the original ones, because you're just gonna that was truly what it was. It was like a hub of like the dopest Black people in this space. And then you look back and you're like, why?
Yeah, that alumni network is crazy.
It's crazy. I'm like, why didn't we just? It's like having the Warriors or something. It's like, why didn't we win a championship? Like, what happened?
Well,
you know
and to keep it on the Byron Allen point, and if nobody's watched his Breakfast Club interview, you should definitely watch that.
Absolutely.
But Puff, Mr. Combs, he had put out a statement after that too, talking about how, you know, Comcast doesn't provide the right financial support either, like on the back end, to allow networks to be successful, and a lot of just the structural support that you need and the ability to scale a channel. It's one thing to be able to build a brand and create a trend or build momentum, things like that, but eventually you have to be able to scale. You have to be able to meet the demand of the product or of the brand. And that would require the institution, being Comcast, actually being committed to seeing that network thrive and be successful, because they're putting so much money into other networks that are failing.
Right.
And so if you're putting all this money into networks that are consistently failing, then it just logically doesn't add up that you have one that could thrive, that reaches and is made for a consumer segment that pays your bills and is the most influential. You have to be making a conscious effort, somebody to say, we're not going to back or support these channels the way that we know we should. People are too smart, just from a business standpoint, to say, we see this, but we're not going to support it. That just doesn't make any sense. So him and other people came out with statements, and then even a former high-level executive saying, Comcast intentionally knew that they weren't supporting these networks the way that they should have been, you know? So, it's only so much you can do yourself when you have that talent or whatever. And there's other reasons why, but, just from a business perspective, you got to, it's like investors all of a sudden being like, we gave you the first round and now you got to figure it out. Like what are you
about
supposed to
the B
do?
round? Yeah.
Well, doesn't it fit the narrative that we got
There's
to do
rounds.
twice the work anyway?
Yeah, but there's rounds for a reason, like
Right.
seed round, A, B, C, phases, and all of that. You just be like, all right, we gave you the channel, and here's however many million. Now go figure it out. Yeah, don't work. It don't work like
I
that.
think that, I mean, a lot of us just come to expect that and to recognize that, hey, this is what's happening and this is why I'm not reaching the point that I'm going to reach, and then actually challenging the people who have control of that. That's actually pretty brave.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because I think a lot of us just suck it up and we just, like you said, hey, we got to work 2 times as hard, shoot like 10 times as hard.
Right.
And just kind of take it to the chest and run with it, and don't really challenge the authority figures in certain realms.
Absolutely. And to me, that's suffering from success. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Byron Allen's, one of a few billionaires in the space. As a black man, he owns himself the largest network of
Is he
channels.
a part of Fox as well?
I'm not sure if he's a part of
Was
Fox.
he a part of the Fox deal that sold out to?
Oh, nah.
Okay.
No.
I feel like he was one of the investors.
Yeah, but he's somebody who in general terms is self-made, built himself up, has had tremendous success, and his success has always at different points. Like if you watch that Breakfast Club interview, at each of these points, it's always been met with a lot of opposition at different points.
Yeah.
An intentional challenge, and to continue to have to prove himself and fight. It's like that attitude of you're always fighting. So the more successful you are, the more you got to fight.
Right.
And that's backwards. That's counterintuitive. It's like the more successful you prove yourself to be at the highest level consistently, that's actually the definition of excellence. That's saying you're excellent, therefore we have to make it way more difficult for you to keep being successful. That's backwards. That's just not how it's supposed to work.
It is, but it ain't. It's the nature of. It's almost like sports. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, they good, but they're not that good. I'm a Niner fan. They've been saying it all year. Like, they're good, but they're not that good. So then, now we wait till they get to Green Bay. And Green Bay happens tonight. You know what I'm saying? Or, with the Warriors. Like, they're good, but they're not that good until they win a championship and, take all the records. You know what I'm saying? You're not that good until you beat me. Until you beat.
Yeah.
Take
then
this
you don't
opposition.
want you keeping me from beating. You basically trying to
Yeah,
rig the game.
it's a little different. It's a little different in the corporate world, but
that's something that I was at a church and Jesse Jackson said something about the sports analogy and why black people are so successful in sports, and then people really. A lot of times they say that it's because we can run high, we can jump whatever fast. Like I got it mixed up. Like we can run high and jump fast. But but people say that. So what they don't really understand is that the thing is the rules are the games are played in public. The rules are everybody knows the rules. Everybody sees everybody has the same opportunity to
virtually
to basically succeed. Like here, and then it's also is truly sports is one of the ones that's really
it's
based
a melting
on like
pot.
it's based on like can you jump high? Are you tall? Can you shoot the ball? When you shoot the ball, does it go in? Those are like so now you're not playing with like somebody's
ulterior motive.
Like nepotism, whatever the case is, and you're all those things can play a part, but at the end of the day, you can't.
The talent usurps all that.
Because look at these owners; they would have hired their family to be a quarterback or something, right? The NFL,
right.
You get what I'm saying? But
they can't throw.
Yeah, Johnny can't.
But let's bring that full circle though, and say you brought up the sports analogy.
Right.
There's certain ways that people respond to excellence, right? LeBron James, people look at him and they say, oh, you're so good, and they crucify him all the time, right? No matter how many teams he carries. The way they respond to him is it's almost like you're so good and you're so successful, everybody get out the way and let's just see what he does. So it's literally like he's so good and so successful that nobody feels like they want to touch it or be around it in terms of like the skeptics or the critics or people who don't support that. It's like, oh, well, now you're even more on your own. It's like the more success he gets, the more isolated essentially he is.
Can become. Yeah.
And then in that respect, what they don't see, though, to bring that full circle, is it's not just about running fast and jumping high. You have to be excellent to be LeBron James from when you first shot a basketball.
Right.
When you were 6 years old and you took your first jump shot, you had to be excellent at Little League. You had to be excellent in middle school. You had to be excellent in high school to be the phenom. You had to get drafted out of high school. You had to excel there. You had to win championships. You had to go 17 years in the NBA to get to where you are.
And keep small core principles to keep that away.
You know what I'm saying?
I read
like
somewhere
years.
Dwayne Wade said he was cheap. He's like, LeBron's the cheapest guy I know. He was like, he won't buy certain apps because he's like, I don't want to be charged that every year. He was like, he said, I just look at him like, dude, you
worth $1 billion.
Like, buy the app. But he's still like, nah, I remember when. You know what I'm saying?
But it's like they look at the success, like the suffering is like when you talk about the difference, you would think that's what a lot of athletes have to do. Like that's their standard, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, whatever. That's your route. So you literally have to be able to be successful at the highest level your entire life.
But not only just in that arena, right? He had to be excellent everywhere. Socially. There is really no scandals when it comes to LeBron James. Had he have had those things, in the social world, then it would have diminished his excellence as an athlete. Right. So, he definitely just had to be excellent across the board.
Yeah. So when you talk about suffering from success, it's like you would think logically, how could you even critique him?
Right.
How could you even be a skeptic if you really looked at the full and then you would say how many people successful? Look at when we talk about the same thing with sports entertainment. Mm-hmm. When the young cats, like nowadays people get hot, a lot of people get hot off the internet or a song or whatever. Right. But back in the day when you had to get a record deal to change your life and people had to start auditioning at 6-7 years old. We all know the Destiny's Child stories, and it's like
Michael Jackson.
Then she goes from being the little kid with the group to doing Coachella and all of that. And you look at that whole thing and you're like, how could people still be trying to make it difficult for her? How could people still be trying to critique and challenge? Why can't you just accept the excellence? Accept it for what you ain't gotta like it, but you also ain't gotta try to intentionally or consciously take shots or make it difficult or discredit it because you don't understand it or something you don't support.
I don't even know that. I think the people, the masses, white people, the people that are of authority, it's okay for us to peak and have a moment, but to reign, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That part that becomes difficult. You know what I'm saying? Now I need to knock you off your horse. You know what I'm saying? I could pay you $1 million and you know what I'm saying, and you will run high, jump high, and I expect for you to blow it, or you live a fairly decent life. You know what I'm saying? But now when you want to become corporate and make moves and be an investor and be a power move along and sit in the room amongst us and have a word to say, it's like, oh, okay, we don't need that, because then you might get more of you in here, and that changes the whole thing, period. Now there's this paradigm shift of which is not a part of the plan now. And so I understand that. But
we, okay, I wanted to see about us, like, taking it to the dating game, you know what I'm saying? And so relationship side.
Since this is a relationship game, if you want to call in 323-900-0478, again 323-900-0478, we're talking about successful, struggling with black success. So in a relationship, and you're becoming successful, and I'll start with you, right? Because I've been hearing this a lot. Right, and we know women right now are carrying the baton as far as success and the financial part in the relationship. And what I've been hearing in this regard is men are having struggles with dealing with a strong, black, successful woman. And so, how does that work? Elaborate on that for us.
That's a little bit difficult, but I think a lot of that is just understanding where it comes from.
Well, is there truth to it first? Do you find merit in it?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, I don't think that men have a problem with their woman being successful per se. For a woman to be successful, a black woman be successful out here in this world. I'm in the law world. So that's a male-dominated world. On top of that, that's a white male-dominated world.
Correct.
So for me to be successful in that arena, I have to be super strong and super alpha, right? I take that home. Some men can't unpack the fact that I just have to be that in the world. And they take it personally instead of being, my line and say, you know what, be alpha here. And let me protect you here. And let me, kind of coddle your feminism here. They kind of combat it, So yes and no. You can't really just say, oh, success, I don't want my woman to be successful. I think it's the traits that come along with success that are sometimes hard for men to deal with.
I'm glad you said. I'm glad you said that, because that was my idea of it. Period. Like at the end of the day, I would say you have to be boy girl, and I think that's what you're talking about in a sense. And even if it's okay for you to be alpha, if I'm gonna be passive and allow you to be that, and it works. Right. But if I'm alpha and you come home being alpha and we don't have a conversation, or there's no understanding, and I don't understand what you're saying, the dynamic of that just being you, and it may be taking some time for you to come unwind and. Because you're just already in that mode.
You know what I'm saying?
Then all those pressures of the world, and sometimes you accidentally take it out on the person you love, but they have to recognize that that's what it is. It's not personal,
Do you feel like men, especially in the workplace, do you mind if I ask?
No, go run with it.
Do you feel like men, especially in the workplace, because you bring up an interesting point and made me think about that, to succeed, you essentially have to express a lot of these like alpha traits, like you said, right? Like you have to be very direct, you have to be very confident, you have to carry yourself, you have to be able to absorb a lot of bullshit. For a strong woman, do you feel like women embrace those traits of who they are naturally, outside of saying to be successful I got to put this on? Like a lot of women are strong and confident and all of that. It's not like they got to pick up those traits just to go in the work world and be successful. Right. And do you feel like men understand or appreciate that women are just as strong and confident and alpha as men? It's not like women have to try to be like an alpha male. Women have those traits.
They're
already, that's what I'm saying. Like they have those traits.
They're that when necessary.
Exactly, when necessary.
Like the Malje, the woman in Black Panther.
Like for a guy,
I'm saying, homegirl, she had a boyfriend.
But I don't know if the average guys I'm thinking about. I don't know if the average guy thinks that women are equal to men when it comes to those traits generally. Like you think. We're just the same when it comes to that. You're just a woman and I'm a man.
Well, like think about the saying, right? You're my backbone.
Right.
And how strong is our backbone? If it carries our whole being, when that goes, we go. Right. So if we're giving them that moniker, that synonym of that's how it was
rib.
Yeah.
The rib, all that.
No, you come from my rib, but I'm saying like
I get what you're saying,
but they're the backbone in the relationship.
Because when you say a guy gets turned off by that, it makes me think like, well, wouldn't you expect or want to that point your woman to be that strong or that powerful to be able to have that. Not like you gotta not have world. It. Yeah, like in a perfect world, you want her to be that way.
I think I always take it back to biology and nature. Right. I feel like women, and especially Black women, we are these strong figures because we had to out of necessity.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a historian, but just going back to the history of our country, we didn't have our men. You know what I mean? They were ripped apart from us. So we had to be the matriarchs of our household. And this is generations and generations of figuring out how to make it out here without men. But naturally, a man is still a man.
Right.
And naturally, a woman is still a woman. Yep. So even though he might come to understand it, nature kind of combats it a little bit.
Right.
You might have to work a little bit harder to deal with it.
Right.
He's acting against nature. He wants to be the head of the household. He wants to be, the protector. He wants to be all that. Now you're taking his position. What is he there for?
Now, I actually both playing off of that. How much does society have to play into that rebuttal, that natural rebuttal of letting her be strong and me taking the mantle when she could be doing it just fine, and it may not be necessary for me to be the stronger person in this said situation? So how much does society play into that narrative of us having to be the strongest?
I mean, I think for me, I look at it like from my personal perspective. I think a woman, especially a very strong, confident woman, to your point, still wants to be a woman at the end of the day. So for a man to be able to understand that duality of, yes, you are this strong and you can do these things on your own, but emotionally and in terms of intimacy and respect and loyalty and space, when you two are together, it's supposed to balance each other out in a sense of like, okay, but you can still be vulnerable with me. You could take that off and you're still all those things. It's not like you turn it off, but you still can be that woman, and I'm going to like be able to nurture you and protect you, to her point, and all these things as a woman. And in a relationship, like as my woman, like my partner, you can feel that way. The same way as a man, like when we're out there too, and we come home or we have our partner, we want the balance too. Like,
right. I just got feeling being hard out there, and I don't feel like
I want to be able to be emotional with my girl. Like I want to be able to take all that stuff off and just be myself.
Correct. Like
with my girl. So I think society to that point plays a role in the sense of like, I think we spend so much time. Society almost teaches us that we have to classify these roles and change the definitions as the times change, as in like we're always associating these dynamics to what, like to career or to all these things, instead of just being like, yo, here's the way humans are, like here's how men and women are, and let's deal with each other on a human level. We always associate, like when you talk about being a strong woman, it's always associated to work or corporate America, or it's always associated to this. It's like
couldn't she just be a strong woman?
Just the relationship between men and women, like period, without the stipulations of what it's attached to, because those things are attached to insecurity, like who's making more money. Right. It's attached to power, who's more powerful. It's attached to who's seen this way or who's weak and who's not or whatever. So it's like we have to compare it or hold it up to these different things. I think in society, like when we look at it, because when you think strong woman, the first thought you think is, oh, she must be a boss in her professional life.
So does that make
must be so and so? Does
that make it a direct correlation between maintaining humility from the success that you have, you know, in your company? You know what I'm saying? So if you're successful in your endeavors, you're successful in yours. So does it make it hard for you to maintain humility in your relationship and communicate precisely how you need to?
I mean,
for some, maybe not for you,
tricky.
But
no, I mean, I'm just being honest. That can be tricky. Like that's why picking your partner is important too. Sometimes you're with somebody who they look at you like what you do, or they see you in those different personalities and not just the fullness of who you are. Like you're all of these things, right? They see you how the world starts to see you, or they respond to you the way that the world responds to you and all that, and you got to try to navigate that. That's why when you find somebody who you can completely be yourself with, that's when you found somebody that you actually can rock with, because the humility is when you feel like it's almost like you don't have to think about it. It's not even something you do. So naturally, you're just like, I'm me. Like when I'm with you, I'm just Julian. Like it ain't Julian of this or that. It's like,
or it encompasses all.
Yeah. This now you still appreciate and respect that. Like, yo, you a boss, you a professional. I support you. You do your thing. But like, pull all that aside. Like, I still know you. Like your spirit, your heart. So that humility is like when that stuff's not a factor. Like it's not at the forefront of your relationship, I think. And that can be hard to, when the more successful you are, that you can suffer from that. Because it can be really hard to find somebody who's not caught up in the idea of you,
right?
Who's not confident enough in themselves, like sure of themselves, to be able to sustain that. Yeah, like as you get more successful, as you grow more, or the world starts to respond to you even more like differently, that they stay consistent, that they stay like who they were when you got with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that, historically.
Vic has something to say.
I'm sure.
It's so funny.
It's a real thing.
Like, historically, I think that women would look at men as far as what they do for a living, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think now what we're seeing today is a man actually will like a woman because of what she does for a living, not who she is. And it's not like, for me personally, it's not like I bring home, like I'm a lawyer. But I've had insecure, or I don't know what their deals are, boyfriends who, if we
deficiencies.
We have an argument, it's always like, why are you trying to out-lawyer me? We're not in a courtroom, and it's it has nothing to do with anything. We're just having a conversation.
Well, I mean,
not that all y'all don't litigate arguments in the first place.
That's low hanging. Yeah, I mean, that's low. I mean, it's
petty.
But you'll be surprised. I would say.
But that does stem from like a little insecurity, though.
Yeah. I can't lie. It's definitely me. Look, as a dude, I definitely could see like how everything could come off, especially if you're not in a good spot at that time. Things are gonna come off differently. You're gonna say take out the trash, or did you take out the trash? It's gonna sound like, nigga, you've been playing video games all day and you ain't got a job yet or something. And that's how it's gonna sound, at least when you literally ain't getting the call. But
the downside of that is it creates a false humility then.
Right. It exaggerates and conflates what really is.
Well, because then you start to feel like, because I know what I do, or you know what you do, when you meet people, you don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Or like you don't want to make it a thing, or you do want to keep it separate because you don't even want to deal with whatever comes with that.
Yeah,
that's very true.
You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying? So
I need a lawyer too. Hey, what?
Phone calls like, bro, I don't even practice.
All right, so my cousin. So this just hypothetically speaking.
And you know what's so real too. You're telling the truth, because I know like guys who now talk about that, and that wasn't even as much of a conversation, like, because you used to think as a man, right, if you were taught growing up, like, if you are successful and you got yourself together, whatever, you'll find the right one, like, she'll come around, she'll see you or whatever, whoop, you make that work. Now it's like dudes be thinking the same way. They be like, now they talking about, she does this and that and
ooh, she got a house.
About what's changed.
Like that's really a thing.
You talked about
not saying that's bad, but that be happening now. Yeah.
Well, it's
like, but come on, man.
It felt like all the pressure was on us. You know what I'm saying? All the pressure felt like it was on us. Now I feel like
everything has completely changed. Like everything's on the opposite end. You talked about us being equal, or how we should appear equal, and now more than ever, because of how liberal we are, everything is changing. I talked about it before a little while back. Now she has options, because before it was us, breadwinner. She had to stay at home. If she did cheat, it was with the milkman. We knew exactly who it was because of the baby, whatever. But we had,
shoulder to lean on.
Yeah,
whatever that was.
We had, or the mailman. You know what I'm saying? But we had all the options because we were working, providing money, right? Yep. And so it was easy for us to choose a mate because we had ran the gamut of women, as opposed to them waiting for the suitors. Now they're making money, and it's harder for them to go, because she's like, hey, Julian's a good guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But dang, now my Tuesday guy's a good guy too. My Wednesday guy has the best dick. My third guy, he got good food choices in. And before, they didn't have that problem. So now it's harder for them to even be, because the ideal, recluse or pure and demure woman, because now they have so many options and they can do it openly and freely. And so now it's hard for them to even sit down and, because I had again, the Netflix and chill meme always gets me. You know what I'm saying? And it's the girl saying like, well, I don't send me no Netflix and chill because my bills are X, Y, and Z, blase, blase, blase.
Right.
Well, men's bills have always been X, Y, and Z, and it never stopped you from wanting to come and chill with him, or him having to take you out to dinner.
That's funny too, because my homegirls, like a lot of my female friends who are successful in their respective space or whatever, I hate to say it's true, but it's true too that a lot of guys be looking for women to take care of them now.
Oh yeah, but it's the complete paradigm
shift. That's what I'm
shift.
saying. That's completely shifted, where like
people
they get in these situations.
If somebody could take care of me, I love that.
But we talking about the dynamic though. But talking about how the dynamics have changed. That's a very fundamental. It was never like that.
It wasn't.
Gotta marry up.
But we're sitting here saying it should be okay for you to understand that she's a strong alpha woman, and to accept her for that, because that's who she is, and you have to accept her for how that goes. Well, if she finds the guy that's self-made but doesn't make as much money, and or the greatest person for her doesn't carry maybe a sustainable job, and she takes care of him, then she should be okay with that, and vice versa, in the sense that only because we're talking about true equality. Because vice versa, because it's okay for me to say, hey, look, she's not worth a plum nickel, but I love her. Nobody will ever look at her differently because I took care of her for the rest of her life.
That's on point. That is on point. I'm talking about a dude becoming a bill.
Oh, yeah.
Like where a dude,
which is not good for anybody.
That's all. Like, that makes part of that be cool. You know, there's cougars out here too.
It works both
but
ways,
nobody should become a bill, which is how we look at most states.
If you're a cougar, you might have to pay to play.
Well,
but we're not talking about cougars, though. We're talking about. Oh, okay. We're talking about.
So you ever seen that SpongeBob meme? It's like, oh, she don't got a husband, she got her own apartment, got her own crib, got her own car. Like, all right, I'm gonna go get my PlayStation.
I'm gonna go get my PlayStation. Yeah.
Nah, it's like that's through the lens of like suffering from success. It's the idea of like. Like when they talk about the fuckboy thing, like if you're a successful woman, having to navigate that, because now there are guys that are also searching for a woman, like who see a woman who's doing her thing, that doesn't want to deal with a combative dude, or she doesn't want to deal with, and it plays into that too. It plays into like a lot of women who are in the position that men have traditionally been in, who are also like, yeah, we don't want to deal with a headache with a dude, or we don't want to do it. So if the companionship and stuff is there, it's almost like that old role reversal of where a woman used to look at a dude who was well off, like a lot of women did, and be like, oh, I'm just gonna get wifed up by him and I'm gonna be chilling. And the dude used to think the leverage in that is she ain't gonna give me no problems. I'm not, because she know I'm taking care of her. And I'm saying that's starting to change too, where
shift the paradigm.
Women are starting to find guys that don't give them a headache, and they can provide or whatever, and dudes are actually getting to a point where they're like, okay, well, if that's what she wants to do, and she's fly and she got her own stuff and she do her thing, like that's something.
So what a dude's like a tote bag now. Like
that was just this point of the role.
I was just saying where it's just like I agree with you saying where it's just like, all right, I could, where it's like, all right, cool. Today we can hang out, and then tomorrow you be like, I'm good. I'm trying to just be on my. I got my own little. I feel like like you said, it's the dynamics. But then also, I would say the suffering. The other side of it, the other perspective is that women today, especially black women in our community, you're so educated. You know what I'm saying? So that means that you guys are more educated. You guys are more taking. Obviously there's a pay gap and all that stuff. But because of the dating pool, the dynamics of the dating pool, I'm noticing is like you guys are super more, extremely successful in the sense of like where your job titles and education. So that means that, and then on the flip side, like me, in my personal relationship, my wife has more education. She has like a quote unquote real job. I'm like an entertainer slash like, I work in the entertainment biz. So it's just like, I could see how those dynamics, in situations could shift, and they could become like, all right, because they want to, especially black women. You guys are dating black men. Black men have a wider range in what they what we go for as far as like dating. But for the most part, if you're just a black woman that's focused on dating a black man specifically, then your pool is a little bit different. And then on top of that, the pool of trying to find somebody that's gonna match or come close to your same success, especially when you are successful, is gonna just be a lot. It's gonna be more difficult, as you go up.
That goes back to when you were saying earlier, like now women have options. Not really. Not that. It kind of depends on what your preference is. I happen to like black men. That's my preference. So you think about first.
So you have options.
First, women outnumber men. Period. Right. Then you got to subtract the men that's dead, subtract the men that's in jail, subtract the men that go for men.
Right.
And then you got a very small, like, pool of men.
Then you got the men that don't date black women.
Then you got them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't have that many options. So then you wind up in the situations where, I'm just gonna take this non-headache guy.
It's deprivation.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
convenience.
you can have all of these strict standards, and you might end up dying with lonely. You know, and you got to kind of compromise here and there. You know, you might get lucky to get this guy who matches you professionally and happens to be black and it's everything you ever thought and dreamed of, but
that's hard. That's hard.
slim.
Is it easier to find that guy or to build with that guy?
Yeah.
Build with that guy.
Yeah, because I think my wife kind of built me. Like, I'm serious. She just like, cool. I'm gonna just make this guy into something. You know, we just gonna have to rock out with it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was kind of like that's how it worked with me. You know, like I feel like I'm this person, but I could have been a different person. You know, I'm this family dude and all that stuff. But at the same time, when you kind of get molded into like, all right, this is what I need. This is, you know what I'm saying? You're shaping somebody. You're shaping a relationship, and you can win that way too.
You can just get lucky.
How many people are willing? How many women do you think are willing to do that and go that route?
Well, they tried.
Successful.
They tried a lot of times.
I tried.
Yeah.
I got real lucky. You know, my boyfriend now, he's successful, but he has a education. You know what I'm saying? But what he does entertainment and he does concierge. But he's not the corporate guy. You know what I mean? So if I was looking for the corporate guy, I would have never found him. But so he's successful in his own field, and he has everything that I would need. Like that guy that understands that, you are alpha, but, I'm going to embrace that. And just calm down here. I got you. Like the things that I think that historically I've had to do on my own, like pump my gas, take out my trash, all that.
Yeah, shout out. Hey, he opened the door. I don't know if that was real. Was that real? Because he opened the door when you walked in out the car. No, I'm just messing with you. Yeah, that was good. I was like, I was like, what? I was like, because he hops out first.
Right side
and I was like, what's this guy doing? Then he's opening the door. He opens the car door. I was like, oh, okay, cool,
That's
man.
what's up.
That's
That was luck. I actually met him in Liv. That was luck. I was looking. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out to Liv.
Shout out to Liv.
Nah, that's dope. Success. Dealing with. If you could advise a young person that's successful coming up of some pitfalls they might face along the way, what's one or two things that you could think of?
Pitfalls, just in terms of the actual just process of relationships,
in relationships, and just something that you have to deal with, whether it's in your career and dealing with just something to be aware of.
I think one thing I would say, since we're talking about relationships, you gotta really, self-awareness is like one of your greatest assets, as in you always need to be focused on where you're at and how you're feeling. And that's in your career and in a relationship, like when it comes to your path and what you're on, like you need to self-check. You need to check in with yourself. You need to make sure you're staying true to yourself. You need to make sure that, you got the right type of people around you, the right energy around you, that you're surrounding yourself and you're consuming the right things, whether it's what you're reading, what you're listening to, whatever. That in that life, you're seeking the right information. You're asking the right questions. You're preparing yourself for what you envision that you want. Like that's in your career. And even when you're accomplishing things, you need to keep that pattern going consistently where you're always making sure it checks off with you. Same thing with a relationship, right? Like when you're with somebody, to your point of like building with somebody, I think you need to find somebody that isn't just good in that moment. You need to find somebody that you think your path and like the route that you're on and how compatible is this person to the path that you're on. Like not how good are they right now. Think about like, what do they believe? What do they value? how are they supportive? Like, how do they show love? Like, what are they dealing with? How would you have to grow with this person? Like, what would you have to help them work through?
How do they treat people?
How do they treat people?
Very
like,
important.
you know what I'm saying? So you got to have that same kind of check. Yeah, that same kind of flow with them, and find somebody that you're on that path with, because I think another pitfall is if you separate the two and you look at it like, okay, I'm on my path in my career over here, and then I got my relationship or my partnership over here, you literally start to, it goes back and forth. You pull between the two because you're pouring into yourself for your career and your path, right? But then when you do that,
it takes away.
You don't got the energy. Yeah, you don't got all that you need to make sure this is right, because you have to invest so much time and energy and effort into that. But then if you're like, all right, I'm all in and I'm giving all of myself to this person, are you able to still balance that out and give all to yourself the way that you need it to be? And if you can't balance those two out and find somebody who is on that path the same way you're on that path, like somebody who complements that, then it doesn't matter how dope they are as a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, this person,
they need to coincide.
In terms of us, yeah, it's at a certain point, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. Give him a round of applause for that. Yeah.
That's just how I felt. Yeah, I wasn't scripted, but you know, because for me too, I find like you go through shit in a relationship. It gets very real, and when it gets real, it can't be something that completely throws one side off. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got to invest so much in worrying about or taking care of or making your relationship right to the point where it pulls from your career, like your focus and your mentality, like your sanity, is dangerous. And then if you got something that when you're pouring all into your career, then that takes away, like this side can't sustain itself, then literally like you just gonna be fighting with you're gonna be fighting back and forth, and it just don't make any sense. Yeah.
Vic, how important is it to understand the relative success in one's relationship as it pertains? Because you talked about him being successful in his own right. You're a lawyer, and I feel like a lot of women don't necessarily understand, or they struggle with a man being relatively successful in what he's doing, and him still being able to compliment who they are. Case in point, entertainment, doing great things now, and probably always been doing great things, but just understanding that, you know what, he makes me happy, we're marriage material, and now he's all encompassing as to where he's successful in his own right. He may not have the exact criteria or the degrees or whatever that you may have, but he can take care of himself. He can provide me with what I need when I need it. So how important is it to do that when you're so successful as the woman, and his success looks differently, that's not charted, that wouldn't be charted as greatly socially as a lawyer or anything else would be?
I feel like, you know, success is obviously subjective, but like success, you kind of have to go back to the point and the purpose. The reason why you want your significant other to be successful is because you want your family to be, I mean, for me personally, you want your family to be taken care of. You know, you want food, shelter, companionship, and all that. So as long as we're having those things, that's success, regardless of what accolades you have here, what accolades, you know, I have there. And if you always take yourself to the foundation, like, what's the point of it all? Why are we doing this? And you focus on that, you can't go wrong. You're going to always get back to where you're supposed to be.
Don't.
Yeah, you gotta set goals in your partnership the same way you do with your career too. I'll be able to do that.
Do we got a comment? I think Deidre was hitting this up. I think she had a question. Do we got comments?
I wasn't logged. Okay. You weren't logged in either. So.
No, I wasn't.
I'll get to it in a second.
She said, I'll check. She just, I don't know. Deidre said she had a question. But
I'll check it in a second.
Yeah, but look at the chat right there on the next, about where the effects are.
Oh, you?
Yeah, and I think that's Deidre. Yeah.
Okay, so essentially, in relationships are more so of having both men and women submitting to each other rather than what's being conditioned. Can a man honestly submit to a successful woman's authority and still cover and reign king of his own domain? So, if you, Deidre's this very complex character, you know what I'm saying? But she's a very domineering woman that I think is still looking to be a woman while being receptive and seeing as this successful alpha authority that's not anything taken away from her. She's writing books, you know what I'm saying? She's writing literature. She's doing a whole bunch of things. And for Deidre, what I cautioned her is being, to your point, being self-aware about how you're seen. You know what I'm saying? So the other thing, and maybe this will segue into something else about awareness that I think women need to also have. Because I think men aren't as oblivious to this because women are a little bit more overt. But if you're a lawyer or successful, how Deidre is, and understanding like, okay, you're a trophy, and he sees that, right? There has to be some type of genuine nature that you have to see through to pull through. Because to your point, if we need a place to stay, any of us can conform. You know, if I need to bring somebody home to mama, you're the perfect person to do it. Now, we may never excel and exceed, and you trying to figure out why, like, dang, why, he bringing me here, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He can never really make enough time when he does certain things just enough to keep me here, but not necessarily give me what I want. But it's not, to me, and especially in her situation, especially with her, I say you have to understand that you're a trophy and that people will look at you and say, you know what, I can bring you home to mama, I can take you here, I can take you there. You fit the script, and whenever I want to get off a lot of boxes. Whenever I want to come back to you, I can. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I may not really like you, or you may not really. I still want to do my thing. Right. Yeah, or to your point, like you're really not that person for me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because I think the one thing that women hate hearing is you're the one that got away. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or you're perfect but not right now. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what but to her question, can a man honestly submit to a successful woman's authority and still cover the reign of king of his own domain? And I think you touched on it earlier. Yeah.
It kind of depends on what you mean by submit to authority. Yeah. Yeah. That's fungible. I don't think nobody in general wants to be told what to do.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Well, submit. It's like I remember I asked that question before, but like submit because it's like in the Bible and biblical or whatever. But it does. Can you
hit that button for me, Sean?
Yeah, it's a little. Submit. The word submit sounds a little like like what are you trying to? Negative. Negative connotation. But I definitely know where there's compromise. There is somebody. So certain points that kind of gotta be the person to be like, you know what, even when somebody's saying sorry or if you're saying thank you or just doing things that are, the person really wants, taking a high road in situations. So that is a submission technically, but but sometimes there's very much things where it's, because it could sound like you're giving up the dominance, but also just to talk about dominance and how sometimes it could come off different ways because it's like you basically you could dominate to avoid domination in situations. So then that's also where it becomes where I know the dynamics, especially when it comes to like female cops and stuff. And sometimes they'll be the ones that be like the ones that's like coming at you or that, right? But also because they have this thing where I'm a female, you're not gonna punk me, and so it's like I'm gonna punk you. But like now you're like so. And where you're like, damn, like, hey, you're attacking me. Killer. But it's all in their mind. You get what I'm saying? So even I'm sure there's times where you gotta kind of scale back on, where you got relationships or you meeting people and you do know like I'm gonna reign supreme in this area. I'm a female, but you got your queen of your domain, but then also I'm sure it's probably situations where you kind of might have to make sure like, yo, hey, chill out, this is how we gonna rock, like.
But even the language of that though is very combatant, like it's very contentious. competition is like, if they're not your teammate, they're your rival. Like that whole thing. Like why is it even got to be like that tension to begin with? That's not healthy if you feel like who's submitting to who and we just going back and forth. It's like that's not the type of energy.
That's not team.
That's even gonna help you. I think it balances. Like when you know your partner, you know who takes charge on what and who doesn't. Or if I'm with somebody and I know they're indecisive. Then both of us can't be indecisive. Yeah,
right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So somebody got to make decisions, or if you know, like I feel like that's just part of everybody submits in a sense of like surrender to something in it. Like you wash your hands. Like I pull my hands back, and I think as you know your partner, you know what that thing is. But in terms of being the king in your own domain, is like, it's in you, not on you. Like either you operate like that or you don't. So it ain't like a circumstantial change. Like like you said, your man is like, he's the king of his domain, which means he knows that's not going to change. Like he doing him. That's what that is. So if we're both doing us and we're together, then that should find ways to balance out. Like,
and if it's in you, it garners a certain level of respect where it's like, all right, I can't really push you off of that, so I'm either with it or nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I respect you or I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing about humility, because even that, right? Like, when you said you know you're a trophy, the thing with
she doesn't.
Is
like,
some
of them don't know.
Right.
Some women don't know that they're a trophy.
The thing that I've learned with that is because a lot of times you don't want, again, we talked about this, like you don't want what you do to be a thing. So you try to play it off, but at the same time, being self-aware, you can't act like you're not lit, or you can't act like these things aren't true. Right. So then that becomes this little paradox because you can't avoid it. Like somebody still knows, and when they see where you go or they know what it is. So the humility is not like reducing that, right? Like acting like it ain't that.
It's just not playing into it.
Exactly, allowing it to change who you are.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I got this power, I know I'm this person, but it's not going to change who I am. And when you operate in that kind of humility, then right off top, like you wouldn't walk into a situation even with that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I know who I am, but at the same time, that's not going to be a real like factor of point of tension because I'm not looking at it through that filter. Yeah, I'm not even looking at it that way.
And is it? And I'm going to see if I can get this strange parallel. Is it true power? Because they say true power is a person who doesn't have to use it. And I know this dominatrix, and she's like, if you really think about it, the person that's really in control is not me. You know what I'm saying? It's really the person that's in bondage. They're the one really orchestrating. So if you see somebody in a cage or in a collar or whatever the case is, they're the ones that's really in control, because I can only go as far as they've allowed me to go. And so even kind of in that, like, you know, true.
How you know dominatrix?
Well, plenty of them. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Get out of my business, Charles.
I don't know. Hey, nobody else was thinking that.
But to me, in her question, like, it's all about feelings. It's all relative. It's how you make me feel. If I don't feel disrespected, but hey, babe, can you take out the trash? Sure. You know what I'm saying? I could be your personal slave, and you've asked me appropriately in every term how to do something. Hey, babe, can you take out the trash? Hey, sweetheart, you want to water the grass? Hey, you want to? And now I'm just running around, whatever. But it's how you make me feel, and while you're being in authority, I'm giving you that power to tell me what to do and go run because of how you make me feel. And so to me, I just think it's all relative.
Yeah, that's
to the point.
Definitely knowing your partner. There's been times where my boyfriend just tells me to do something, and I'd be like, "No, I'm not going to do it." I said, "You have to finesse me a little bit. You know what I mean? You have to do it. Don't just be like, do this.
Got to have an ounce of finesse.
At least. Yeah. Do it. It's definitely delivery. But back to your point, a lot of people don't know who they are outside of their success.
Right.
You know, how many times do you meet somebody, you know, hey, tell me about yourself? The first thing that comes out of their mouth is their accolades, or you know what I mean?
Right.
So
I went to Princeton.
Or no, this is what I do. Especially in LA, that's the first thing that comes out their mouth.
Before you go in a relationship, it is important to know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, so that you don't bring what you are, and don't let that dominate your relationship.
Yeah, and also don't try to fix these broken dudes. I'm saying, seriously, women out here, I mean, a lot of these dudes are on that meme tip with here's my PlayStation, but because I'll be honest, it's we know personal stories of all that, but it's at the end of the day, there's rare occasions where women will take on a project and come out on the other side with a good situation. A W. But that's it's kind of, it's definitely, I feel like it's more rare. It's definitely more rare, unless you see somebody that's really ambitious, really has things that they have going on. Like, don't try to bring in a rapper or something, you know what I'm saying, like a dude that's trying to get a rap career off them. But somebody that has things that are like tangible, or hey, I got a business plan. Remember, Lawrence, what's his name? Team Lawrence from, Insecure and all that. Look, Lawrence was out of work, you know what I'm saying? But he had a business plan. He had a degree. He had a business plan. He has things that were like, hey, it hasn't worked. Yeah, look, she not Team Lawrence. You're not Team Lawrence.
The infrastructure was there for Lawrence.
That's like the ultimate debate, though. Have you seen that Tyler Perry movie, Acrimony, right?
I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it.
Heard of it.
I think I've seen
it. But yeah, I mean, Taraji, she held her dude down for like 28
that's where the
years.
Dude paid her off.
Yeah.
Went on
Okay.
Like, well, how far this man, his whole business plan for 28 years, he never even had a job, didn't even try to pay one light bill. His whole business plan was get this off the ground. I mean, he finally popped, but she had gave up on him after that long.
Oh, okay. Lawrence was 6 years.
Yeah.
That is 28 years.
Even being Mary Jane, it's the same thing with the dude in that situation. Yeah. College, same thing. Now he's billionaire. She wants to come back around.
That's a great point, though. But that's why, bringing it full circle, you can't be in a relationship that's a power trip.
Because, or based on what somebody has or don't have.
Or don't, because it goes up and down. Right. Literally, like, you could be way, way up. For 10 years, you could be up.
You could be MC Hammer.
And then you dip.
Yeah, hey,
or you could start something.
That's my OG.
No, I'm just saying, because he was really rich.
Yeah, both sides.
He was really rich.
Like both sides are going to go through ups and downs at some particular point. And it can't be like, oh, the power dynamic of this changes, or like how we look at each other would change from when we talk about authoritative standpoint. Like, okay, well, you're playing off of each other, or you judge each other, or you look at each other differently because I've known you to be this person. Like, I've thought you to be this person. So you literally associated it to what somebody had and what their status was or whatever. And you see them in that way, or vice versa. She was up, she's doing her thing, you see her in that way. And they hit a point, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, they don't look at you the same anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because of the like the person, the authority of the thing, as opposed to like really saying, okay, we're really rocking and with each other, and you really are with that person. Because that's a lot of times, like they say, when you find out if somebody really is rocking with you or not, is when you take the thing away. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you take this thing away. Oh, and then if they're not the same person, then you know exactly what you're dealing with. Yeah, but when you build it off a power dynamic like that, like, you have to maintain that. Like, that has to be something that you have to keep feeding it for it to
grow. Give us your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Give me a prompt or something, man.
Oh, so what you got going on? What's your 2020 looking like?
Genuinely, my first thought was, this is a dope conversation. I don't think people talk about this enough. That was my first thought. But my 2020, what?
Yeah, like, give us what's next. What's up? What's next for you? What's your 2020 looking like?
I mean, 2020 for me, I recently announced the company, IQ Labs. Super excited about that. It's media marketing education. So in that plan for me is like owning the media brand. So that's what I have right now.
That's lit.
Yeah,
Julian.
That's what we're doing.
It's gonna happen,
you
too.
know, IQ that is here. IQ-labs.co. You can check it out.
Check that out.
Check it out. Still doing Corner Office with Beats. Second season of that. So doing more partnerships, more collaborations. teaching, traveling more. But yeah, you know,
doing tech is I think you doing CES again?
Yeah, I'm on the board of CES again.
Okay.
Yeah, CES in Las Vegas, the biggest consumer electronic conference on the planet, is January 7th through the 10th, Las Vegas. So I'm on the board of CES, so we do the actual programming of it. But I'm also doing a huge talk on the future of sports streaming. So I'll be leading that conversation in Vegas.
Hey, look, we got look. Good news. You know they got a sports network as well. We gonna pull up on you. You hear that, Keith? You better be listening too. Look, no, better be listening. But why have you here? Because it just popped in my head. All right. So what's Afrofuturism? What's your take on it?
Afrofuturism. I think I love how much we talk about like innovation. Okay, I'll preface it by saying this. I don't think we have enough black futurists, like in general. And I think we're in a time where creativity is so much a commodity and everybody is gaining influence and power and positioning off of their ideas, that we collectively spend more time thinking about what we're creating than we do about the future. Like, we don't talk about the future enough. So I just think, first and foremost, I think we have some catching up to do when it comes to, we should spend just as much time imagining, envisioning, building, talking about the future and where we want to take it and what we want to see, just as much as we do like powering everything right now. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I think, you know, Afrofuturism, I saw when I was at Lamert at Core Crenshaw, they played this video about Afrofuturism in LA and what it would look like, and like tapping into like reimagining a lot of the history and a lot of the black history and the African influence. And I love the fact that we're seeing African music and culture boom the way that it is as well. So for me, I'm hoping that our future as our continent, as Africa and Africans and the culture, becomes something that's influencing the world on a larger scale, and we start imagining the future here as African Americans, as people in this country with so much influence and power. We start to design like new systems of education, new industries around our greatest exports, sports, entertainment, lifestyle, fashion. Like, we should be doing these things. I hope we create councils or unions around like culture and influence, so that we can actually get credited for, you know, and get commission and equity off of all the shit that we're doing that's like creating that future. So I'm hoping all this Renaissance energy and everything we're seeing can be turned over into tangible like progress in the form of like institutions and infrastructure and industry and assets and like new ways of thinking, you know what I'm saying? So I'm
you want to make our own reparations.
I think we should. Yeah. I really think we should. It's not going to be just dollar amounts. Yeah, it's got to be. We should be thinking about creating assets for the future that are beyond like what we see, what we're thinking about right now. Yeah.
Well, you just dope all over the joint.
He got another applause. That's what I think about. He had another applause. Yeah, nah, that's
like when you see Afrofuturism, even when you watch Black Panther, right? And you think about Wakanda, it's like so much of our future is always tied to our history, right? Like, it's always tied to the core of who we are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what we are doing is we're still fixating on the history of it.
Instead of moving forward.
Instead of saying, oh, wow, this thing is really possible. You seen this, like, vibranium. You see the type of spaceships we was flying. You see the way we was talking, what we was building, what we was doing. But we're talking about, oh, those African garments look so, like, authentic. And this is it, which is beautiful. But it's like, when we're having the conversations, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Then you want to go deeper into,
we could go create a whole country that's like Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what we talk about. So I was like, that's what we gotta go with it.
I think about, damn, like, what was those public schools like in Wakanda? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm probably, you know, the the kid that lives in like the bad neighborhood out there is probably just running circles, like a Killmonger. He's running circles around people. Thing. You know what I'm saying?
But think about that, because we don't know that history. That's the underlying thing. Is like, yes, we're gonna fixate over a history because it's our first time seeing it.
Right.
So we're gonna get so caught up in that, like, wow, that's beautiful, that's amazing, it's powerful, and that's part of it. Is like, so if we're gonna focus on that, are we spending just as much time or energy or attention trying to also think about what the future of us as a collective is gonna like look like, be like, feel like?
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Afrofuturism is something that we all should just consider, and I appreciate you, giving that response. And shout out to my uncle. He's doing he's did his third year of Afro Comic Con, so he he licensed that, and that's his, he created that, and then he's also doing Oakland Comic Con. That's one of his Comic Cons that he created, but it's super dope because the reality is the big thing, if people don't know what the importance of Afrofuturism is just that we have to see ourselves in the future. We have to create futures for ourselves, and we have to see it's important for us to like have those thoughts, have those, if there's a Star Trek or there's whatever's going on, or people that are in the next galaxy or in the next generations, like it's important for Black people to visibly see themselves behind on the spaceship, on the doggone thing, right, with a job. They don't even have to be, whatever it is, and then that way it opens up our intellect. Because what's crazy is like, I grew up at a time where I was watching Star Trek, and the doggone beam me up Scotty are the people with the Bluetooth almost thing or whatever, right? And it was so cool that they could like tell somebody on a spaceship to do something, right? And they'll just be like, it's a little earpiece, and so much technology is just because it's people's imaginations, essentially, and right, it's just and then things is you just think it's not possible, and next thing you know, it's like just super regular. You get what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I grew up in Europe because I was a military brat. Shout out to Ramstein Air Force Base. So I was a military brat. So growing up, FaceTime didn't exist. FaceTime is the most regular thing in the planet right now, right?
Right.
But like I remember getting like 1-800 cards to call somebody, collect, and then you get a collect call, you only got so many minutes and all this stuff, and you're doing all this and you're timing out when they're gonna be up or when they're gonna be home, and then so now you can just get on on FaceTime with somebody that's in the whole and like anywhere in the world. It's like, that's amazing, and it's just in our lifetime where you go from that's huge leaps in technology, and that's from imagination, and then that's also the light, the traffic light. Was the traffic light? That's a brother that saw this. He saw he saw the problem. He saw the future. He saw where we could take it. Now he changed the whole entire world with that one piece of technology. So that's just an example of Afrofuturism at its finest, and where we can fit in the Afrofuturism space through technology. Absolutely. And so and they just had Afrotech. So me and you got to pull up next Afrotech. I missed it this year. I see Charlamagne was a speaker there, so shout out to him. And and I took over Julian's closing, but I'm gonna do my closing right quick. And
real quick, what I'm gonna say to that, because I'd love to get y'all thought on this as we talk about Afrofuturism, right? Because you made me think about this as we were doing this. Elon Musk just brought out the Cybertruck.
Right.
I saw that.
That big tank looking thing.
Right? Yeah, I saw that.
Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook. All these people, Jeff Bezos built Amazon, completely changes the way the world looks at options.
Crazy.
Like what you have, Google, all of that. Our probably most influential creator, look at what Kanye West is doing, right?
Yeah.
Who's saying, I can build anything, right? Like, I'm like Walt Disney. I'm all these people.
Yeah.
And no diss to him, because I think he shows you the power that anything is possible. Literally, that's like the king of manifesting whatever you see about the future.
He says it, he does it. He says it. He doesn't care.
Absolutely.
But he's making sneakers.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, so Elon Musk is sending people to space. Richard Branson got a whole like future of like bullet trains that are going to change the way people can transport literally around the world. Zuckerberg's built Facebook. All these people have done that. And the most powerful creator right now in our culture is making clothes.
Well, that's just the one that we see.
No, I'm just saying that's the point of what I'm saying. When we look at it, like when we as black people are looking at our influential leaders and thinking about the future and what's being built. And I love Kanye and I love his design thinking. I think somebody should teach a masterclass on how he designed things, but the symbolism of that, like what you see. So then you would think, while they're building Cybertrucks and spaceships to Mars, is the young black dude with the genius to do what Mark Zuckerberg did, thinking about designing sneakers or making something that's like more of a consumer product. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or like what are we really talking about?
He should be trying to recreate the Nile where everybody comes and does as a collaborative.
It's not even pressure on him.
No, not him.
What is the conversation?
That's
my point.
Bigger. I'm saying, but bigger than, because we have everybody that you named are white with so many things that affect so much change.
They're literally affecting the world on the largest, like changing the world. Bill Gates, if you watch Inside Bill's Mind, literally is solving the world's sanitation problem, like changing the way people can use toilets and stuff like that. And it's like, when we look at the conversation, like if we were talking about what are our leaders building, what would we be talking about?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? That's more what I'm thinking. So when we talk about the future, what are our examples? What are we looking at? Who's influencing us? You know what I'm saying?
Because we built the irrigation system in Egypt.
But we built the traffic light. We did all this kind of stuff like in our history.
Ownership is just as important as creating.
Absolutely.
Because most of, the greatest inventions and technology, you better believe we're behind.
Absolutely.
So
the cotton gin.
Everything.
I mean, that was just a
and we got robbed.
So
definitely.
you have to know what we don't know. We have to know how to protect these things that we're creating so that we can physically be seen amongst the marks and the bills. Because we've created just as much.
Right.
We've just been robbed of it.
Absolutely.
I completely agree with you.
We're only going to see kind of, I don't know, cliche, what they allow us to see. So we have to be able to mobilize and educate ourselves far beyond the standard realms of YouTube and TV, because they're gonna blockade you. You're gonna have to fight Comcast.
And win twice.
Yeah, that's the other part.
But that just goes. I completely agree with you. Is like, that's why I think we do have to collectively be thinking, like, what are we gonna do together to like try to change some of those things, because they are not gonna let it happen. No.
You got to start a village. You know what I'm saying? Start the village, raise from there, raise your IQ, raise that village's IQ, which I think you're on the right track with. So I was listening to Nip, and he was like, he's like, my concern is the kids. And that's where it would come, because now it's a little different for our kids. They saw Obama. Now it's more impressionable to be like, oh, okay, I can be a president. Because we had the kid from UCLA, the running back, who said, I only want to be the governor. He went to the Packers, but he was like, from the time he was a kid, he was like, I want to be a governor. But he never knew he could be a president before that. But he had only seen black governors up until that point. And to that point, he became a governor. So he's running in office and doing these things, but his ceiling was capped at governor. So
and Nip also, shout out to him. He was our dear brother, but he also he was investing in technology, and he was big. He had an academy, like a workspace that was
Vector 90.
Vector. What was it?
Vector 90.
Vector 90. So he definitely saw that was and really important. I had the honor of asking him when in an interview. I asked him about if he knew, because people don't really realize that SpaceX is literally like off of Crenshaw, and so it's literally like 15 minutes south of Slauson, because it's in Hawthorne, but it's literally like right there. So I was like, Elon Musk? He's like, I love Elon, and he was like, I seen him, listened to his podcast. He's seen him on Joe Rogan and stuff, and he was like, so he mentioned that, and I was like, I want y'all to connect. That's I promise y'all, because I'm like, I felt like if Nip and Elon was able to connect, you know what I'm saying, I just feel like they would just see, they would be able to create something so amazing, and unfortunately that didn't happen, but I just think in those terms that brothers that are highly intelligent but also come from different worlds could solve a lot of different problems, and just see different things. They could see, they could use their intellect to solve different things.
Become a community again. And I think that was at the gist of what you're saying, and what Nip was trying to do was become communal again. Different races stick together regardless.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I remember trying to get a job and I had to speak Spanish, and I thought it was crazy at Sprint. But somebody got the job over me because they spoke Spanish. That was just about it. I came from a sales background, but I didn't speak Spanish, and that spoke volumes to me. You know what I'm saying? To the point where it was like, okay, my kid will speak Spanish, but they get in and they bring their own. Me and you sometimes, I don't know you, but for some odd reason, I'd rather be divisive and confrontational towards you until I have a conversation like this. And funny story quickly before we get out of here. My grandma was an MC for funeral homes. I was raised in funeral homes. And I'm sitting next to this dude one day, and this funeral ended up getting shot up. But I'm sitting next to this dude as he's talking to me, waiting, but he's listening to, he's a Crip, and some blood's out there. The blood died, Crips outside, or vice versa. And he's listening to what the dude was into. And he's like, dang, like, had I known this cat, we would have been cool. He's into everything that I like. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until Nip says he went to jail, and I realized, like, he's like, well, dang, to a man, outside of these colors, we got the same issues and struggles. So forget all that. We should be more communal. And when you think back to our ancestors, like, we were villages, you know what I'm saying? We were together. We supported, which is to your point when you said they stripped everybody from everybody, and now we're divided. We remain divided. So to get where you want to get, we first got to be together if there's strength in numbers, you know what I'm saying, and support one another. Black by popular demand, just a simple situation. Like, since people like them and support them, now they're everywhere. People, now they thrive. We get a bank, then you get a school, you know what I'm saying, and it just goes from there. Become communal.
Yeah.
Where can we find you in 2020 and your handle before we get out of here?
Pretty much just educating. I really see a lot of Black entrepreneurs and creatives around me, and I really want to help them know what they don't know and how to spot that they don't know what they don't know, so that so that we are owning our creativity, and we're not falling or in the pits of lack of knowledge when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. So.
That's what's up. Well, this has been the Relationship Game. I appreciate y'all, all of y'all.
Thank
you two back there, silent partner. You know what I'm saying? Dope stuff, Charles. You did it again.
Peace.
I am Doncho Detroit.
Shout out to Jamilio. He just had his birthday.
Happy birthday,
our cousin.
Happy B-Day. Yeah. We out.
Peace.